This episode of the Central Valley Music Educators Podcast is sponsored by J.H. Tackett Marketing in Hanford. They offer worldwide printing at your fingertips. Visit them online at jhtacketmarketing.com.
Welcome to the Central Valley Music Educators Podcast. I'm your host, Rob Bentley. I'm excited to have our friend and mentor, Larry Sutherland, on today's show. You can follow the podcast on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google, YouTube, or wherever you download your favorite shows. You can also listen on our website at cvmepodcast.com. Well, how's everybody doing? Those of you who are still in school probably only have a few days left. I just got out a couple of days ago myself. What a year. What a year. In the last year, I've produced over 35 episodes of the show, and one name that pops up frequently as an inspiration to so many teachers is our guest today, Dr. Larry Sutherland. Larry served as Director of Bands and Professor of Music at California State University, Fresno from 1969 until 2006. He has conducted ensembles locally, nationally, and internationally. He's the only person to have directed all three California All-State groups, orchestra, symphonic band, and jazz band. Those of you who know him are well aware of his stature in the music world. Those of you who don't can read his full bio in the show notes. I was fortunate to have Doc as a professor at Fresno State, and like many of you, his influence on my career continues to this day. I'm extremely humbled to have him on the show with us. Well, welcome to the show, Doc.
Well, good to see you, Rob. Looking forward to this.
You know, Larry, I've been doing this podcast since August, and I've had the chance to interview so many great educators, and your name comes up as such a great influence on so many that I thought it'd be fun to catch up with you and Lola to see how things are going. I understand you just got back from Greece.
Yes, we did. We went to the big island of Crete, and we went to the little island of Paros, and then we ended up in Athens. So we had a real good time.
That's great. You know, I asked some friends and colleagues what they'd like to know about you and maybe something that they didn't know before. So let's start with your musical upbringing. How did you get started in music as a child?
Well, you know, it's really my first memories of music as a child are it's playing a violin solo before the fourth grade class, my fourth grade class, many, many years ago. And I remember what I played. I played the Dvorak Going Home on the violin. And I don't know why I remember it, but that's the first memory I have of music.
So then going on from elementary school, what did your high school years look like before you headed off to college?
Well, my dad was a flight surgeon in the Air Force. So we had quite a few different bases. You know, I went to high school in England and Michigan and in Spokane, Washington. So in each one of those places was a different kind of a situation. In England, I played in a brass band. I played tuba in a brass band in England. In high school, I played trombone. So it was really varied. And when I finally graduated from high school at Lewis and Clark High School in Spokane, I thought I was going to be a doctor, my father being a surgeon. So I went to University of Missouri Medical, pre-med. And didn't take too long to find out that I was more of a musician than a student. So I switched over to trombone major there.
So then you went to the University of Tulsa. How was that experience there?
I got my bachelor's there. And then I went to the University of Missouri as a graduate assistant, working on my master's. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what it was.
And then tell us about your conducting experience at University of Arizona.
Well, I got the first DMA in conducting that was awarded by the University of Arizona back in 1976, and had a real nice time there. Although I had to go in the summertime, 6 summers, and it was really, really hot, as you can imagine, in Tucson. So I didn't enjoy that much. But anyway, so I got my doctorate there.
So what brought you to Fresno then?
Well, I was teaching at the University of Missouri. It's a very long story, but one of my best friend, Al Pickard, was a trumpet teacher, and I was a trombone teacher. And then when the real band director quit, or not didn't quit, he went up to department chairman. He appointed Al as director of bands and me as assistant director of bands, also still teaching trombone. So I stayed there for a while, and I realized that I was never going to be anything more than an assistant. So I looked around for a job for being a real director of bands, and the Fresno job came up, and I applied for it and came out here. And when I realized that Jim Winter on brass and Russell Howland on woodwinds were the teachers, I thought, well, I can't do any better than that. So I was lucky enough to get the job. Started back in 1969. And my first drum major, I got to say now, my first drum major was Gary Dieter.
Really? I did not know that. That's
yeah.
That's great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was great.
Hey, your time in Fresno, you're such a beloved educator in the area. And why do you think your style of teaching has resonated with so many? What sets you aside from others?
Well, I'd be the last person to know that. I don't know. All I know is I love music. I'm very intense about it. And it's a very emotional appeal to me. And I guess in the process of working with people around music, that kind of exudes itself, I guess.
Okay. So as a conductor, when you're doing score study, what are some of the things that you do when you're preparing a score for rehearsal, for performance? What advice would you have for educators in terms of score preparation?
Well, it's like reading a book. I mean, I keep it with me all the time. And I'm always looking at it, and I'm always looking for things that are anomalies. I'm always looking for possible misprints or things that don't work out together. It's just really studying it, and I sing the parts in my head. And I wish I could play piano as well as some people I know who can sit down and play it on piano. But anyway, I look at it and look at it and look at it, and as I'm rehearsing it and I'm looking at it, I can remember what it sounds like in rehearsal. So that helps. And it's just intensive study. That's all there is to it.
So you've always had a great relationship from Fresno State, even to this day. And I know that there were some really great years, and you probably had a few frustrating ones. Can you think of a particular frustration that you had, maybe that you had to overcome while you were there?
If I could, I wouldn't want to remember it.
I don't blame you.
No, there were certainly times when it wasn't smooth sailing, but that happens in any kind of a job. So I just kind of forget about it.
Yeah. So then let's go on to the positive side, some of the great things and why you still invest heavily in the university.
Well, the first thing is that my colleague, Gary Gilroy, has done such a fantastic job continuing and expanding on the band program at Fresno State. It's just amazing, the stuff that he's been able to do. And he keeps me in the loop. So I'm there all the time. Not all the time, but I rehearse his band occasionally and do some judging for him in there, and very much involved in. We have a new trombone teacher at Fresno State, Russ Zokaitis, who's just doing a fantastic job. And we've needed that for years. So I'm real happy with how things are going at Fresno State.
Yeah, you have such a broad conducting experience. I know that you've conducted jazz, you've conducted obviously wind bands, orchestras. You were actually the first, as I recall, you were the first person that has actually conducted all three of the high school all-state groups. So that's quite a distinction. Yeah. But if you had to choose one group to direct, which would you pick?
Well, the group that I like the best is the one that I'm currently standing in front of. That's just it. I mean, if I'm conducting a band or whatever, an orchestra, when I'm standing in front of them, that's the group that I like. Now, if you want to get really really sophisticated, and I don't want to make anybody mad or anything, but the only group that has the kind of repertoire that appeals to me emotionally over a long period of time is orchestra. And you just can't overlook the fact that there are just thousands of of pieces of music that are just fantastic. And the literature is what makes the difference for me. So I'd have to say that orchestra, in the final analysis, orchestra would be the one.
Yeah, that's a good choice. I've taught a little orchestra myself, and boy, were my eyes open to just the wide range of repertoire. There's just so much out
Yeah,
there.
yeah, it doesn't stop. I mean, you just when you think you know some of the literature, it's all you got to do is listen to KVPR or something. Listen to and you'll hear something you never heard before, and you say, "Where did that come from?" It's amazing.
Yeah, well, in talking with former students of yours, we came across a few questions, and one of the ones that came up was that you're such an intense conductor, and sometimes people talk about how it could have been borderline intense. But do you consider yourself a tough love educator?
I don't. Well, I know some people do, and I can understand why. I just have such a feeling towards what I'm doing that the intensity comes across a lot, so more than it should probably sometimes. But I do feel very intensely about the music that I'm working with.
So you had a lot of knuckleheads in your groups, for sure. And I know there was a lot of shenanigans going on, even in front of you or behind your back, maybe with your students back in the day. What's one story that you can share with us now that the statute of limitations has passed?
Yeah, I thought about that, Rob, and I can't think of anything that was done in front of me. All the things that happened, I found out about later, and guys did this and this and this, but when you got people in your band like Paul Chagoyan and Sonny Hernandez and Tom Ashworth and Dale Engstrom, you're going to have a lot of that kind of stuff going on, and they just had a ball. They really enjoyed themselves.
Yeah, good times. Good times. So you're saying if it didn't happen in front of you, you're claiming no responsibility.
Right, exactly.
So one of the things we like to do on the show is definitely offer a lot of words of encouragement to the incoming educators, because there's so many new teachers out there and they love to pick the brains of people who have been doing it for a while. So what are some words of advice you might have for educators just starting out, or maybe they've been in it a few years and they feel like they need some words of encouragement?
Well, I think the first thing to do is get as much help from the veteran teachers as you possibly can, so that you're not in it by yourself. Especially teaching high school or a middle school band, for me, is the hardest job of all. I can't think of anything harder. When you start talking about making music, that makes it even harder. It's so hard to teach at an artistic level in some circumstances, because you're just overwhelmed with all the other aspects of teaching, discipline, scheduling, facilities, administration. So that sometimes actually making music is the last thing that happens. All I can say is just be true to yourself. Try to get the best music you can. Try to pick the best literature you can, because I've found that picking excellent literature will go a long way in improving the morale of the group and improving the sound of the group. And I can't stress that too highly. Get help from people. I mean, I can't believe how few people ever called on me to come out and work with their groups. I don't know, maybe they were afraid I'd make fun of them or something. But the ones that did got a lot out of it. And I think they need to do that. I mean, just call your local college band director or even a high school director that you have a good feeling with, and get some help. I mean, it's great. It'll work.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Amen. That's one thing that I've always tried to do, is bring in people to work with my groups and listen. And if they couldn't make it, maybe record it and play it back for them and get the tips. There are so many people out there that want to help, but there's just not enough people out there willing to ask for it. So definitely, I would second that. So speaking of like helping out other groups, I know you've been involved with guest conducting groups and you love to adjudicate and help out wherever you can, but you're retired, so you've got some time to travel and do some stuff. What have you and Lola been up to besides for traveling to Greece recently?
Well, we travel everywhere. I mean, We're going to Hawaii in September. We're going on a Mediterranean cruise in November. We're going back to Puerto Vallarta next January. So those are our three big things. And then in December at the Midwest Band Clinic, my good friend Michael Boytz at Saratoga High School has asked me to conduct his string orchestra on the Midwest Band Clinic, an orchestra clinic.
Oh,
So,
that's great. I was just there this last December myself.
isn't that something? That's a real experience. My first time at the Midwest was 1965, if you can believe that. It was a mind-altering experience. It was really, really interesting. Everybody needs to go. So anyway, we do a lot of traveling. We like to eat out, and there's a lot of stuff around our 10 acres we have up here in the mountains to keep going. So we're busy.
Yeah.
That plus going to doctor's appointments.
Right.
No, well, I still have my now you call them our radio controlled drones.
Oh, okay.
But I've been flying radio controlled model airplanes, big ones, for years,
That's right.
years and years. So that's something that I continue to do. I build them, I repair them, I crash them, and that's my hobby. Lola's hobby is growing and showing African violets. As a matter of fact, she's going to Atlanta a couple of weeks to have a big show there. So we're busy. Yeah, they always say you're never as busy as you are when you're retired, and that's true.
Well, Larry, on behalf of your former students, I want to thank you for your many years of service to music education, and I'm so glad we had the chance to visit, and we're looking forward to seeing you again.
So am I, Rob. I appreciate it very much. Thanks a lot.
Man, it was such a great experience for me personally to be able to interview Doc. He continues to be an inspiration for so many of us, so much so that I've created a special portion of this podcast which appears on our YouTube channel. I've invited as many of his former students and colleagues as I could to submit thank you videos and special messages to show our appreciation for Doc and Lola for all that they do for Central Valley music educators. At the end of this episode, head over to our Central Valley Music Educators podcast page on YouTube and listen to this episode and watch the messages at the end. I know that I said this episode was our season finale, but I've produced a special 10th episode for season 4, which is also available now with interviews of recent retirees Pete Vanderpart and Brad Pickett. You'll get a chance to hear from them about their careers and what plans they have for the future. I'd like to thank J.H. Tackett Marketing in Hanford for sponsoring this episode of the Central Valley Music Educators podcast. If you're interested in sponsoring a future episode of the show, or you have a topic that you'd be interested in hearing about, please contact me at cvmepodcast@gmail.com. If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a review, sharing on social media, or telling a friend. For more information about the show, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube at Central Valley Music Educators Podcast or at CVME Podcast. Have a great week.
Hi, Doc. It's Doug and Becky Hunt. Want to say thank you for everything you've done for us. For my first day at Fresno State, you welcomed me and you taught me so much about music and being a musician and playing musically, and I really appreciate everything you've done for us.
Yes, thank you for showing us how to be in a very high quality ensemble, and all the beautiful, wonderful music that we made and the fabulous memories that we have are thanks to you. Thank you so much, and we love you so much.
Love you, Doc. Thank you.
Bye.
Hi, Doc. I've got 90 seconds to say thank you to you. And it's actually pretty simple. Without you, I don't have the job that I have, the career that I have, the life that I have. I started taking trombone lessons summer after my 4th grade year, and every trombone teacher I had from then until I graduated from high school was a student of yours. Bob Bergstrom, Tom Ashworth, Mike Ingstrom, Doug Rogers, Don Willems. When I was in high school, I spent 4 summers at La Sierra working with you in both the concert band and the jazz band. And then, of course, I had 5 great years at Fresno State, studying trombone with you, playing in the wind ensemble under you, playing in the A band under you. I think every teacher hears the voices of their teachers in their head when they're teaching. And no voice is louder in my head than yours. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
John Egger, class of 1994. When I came out of high school, I was looking at colleges to attend for music education. So I went to Fresno State to visit and was introduced to the wind ensemble and the jazz band under the direction of Doc Sutherland. The second I saw those ensembles and the quality of what they were, I wanted to be a part of Fresno State. So I came to Fresno State and got introduced to the brutal honesty of Doc Sutherland. As I was there, I realized that brutal honesty is what makes musicians great. You pull out phenomenal musicianship because you believe in the person and the talents and abilities that you see in them. So I just want to say, I count myself privileged, Doc, to have learned under you. And I want to thank you for your countless times, hours, investment into my life and the influence that you had on me during those very molding years in college. You have made a difference in who I am as a musician. You made a difference in who I am as an educator. And again, I count myself privileged to have had you as an instructor. I thank you from the bottom of my heart and express great gratitude for who you are and for all that you have given to not only myself, but all the music students that have come under your direction. Thank you, God bless you, and I appreciate you more than you know.
Hey Doc, Barb Catlin here. I just want to say hi and to thank you for everything that you've taught me over the years. I learned so much from you and continue to love to share all of your Docisms. I'll never forget working with the California All-State Junior High Jazz Band, and I was telling them to leap on those upbeats and sit on those downbeats, and you walked up behind me and said, "Hey, that's my line." And of course it was your line, and I know that we all use so many of your wonderful teaching tools, and we just love you and Lola, and can't wait to see you soon. Mwah.
Hi Larry, this is your old friend Scott. Rarely a day goes by where I don't think about the impact you've had on my life and career. I remember how being blown away by your work with the students in the wind and jazz ensembles while I was interviewing for the marching band job. It was that experience that excited me so much about coming to Fresno State. Of course, I was awfully naive about the severity of the challenges that I was about to face, and often wondered how you tolerated my novice mistakes and lack of savvy and maturity. Nevertheless, you provided me with countless professional opportunities, guided me through the gauntlet of advancement of the faculty, and supported me during my most trying personal and professional challenges. For these things and so much more, I am exceedingly grateful for all you've done for me and your tremendous friendship. On behalf of myself and countless others who have benefited from your mentoring, thanks so very much. I love you, man. Give my best to Lola.
Hey Doc, this is Rob Bentley. I just want to thank you for coming on the show again, and I'm so glad that so many of us were able to come together to make this project so special for you and Lola. You guys have a special place in my heart, and I wish you only the best in the future, in your retirement and in your travels.
Hi everyone, my name is Marcus Zealous. I was in Doc's Wind Ensemble in 2005 and 2006, and I can remember a lot of wonderful things about Doc, and one of the things just personally that blessed me was every once in a while he would have to clinic or judge somewhere else, and what that would mean is we would still have rehearsals for one ensemble and someone needed to facilitate those rehearsals. And so he approached me one time in the hallway and said, "Hey, I'm gonna be gone. I'm gonna need you to lead this wind ensemble's rehearsal." And I'm like, oh my gosh. I was super freaked out by that, just because I didn't feel that I deserved to do that, to lead my peers of that caliber. And but at the same time, it was super empowering. I remember he took me to lunch and we walked through the scores together. He gave me some specific rehearsal points. And I just remember, while that was a bit scary for me, it was something that really helped boost my confidence to know that someone of Doc's stature would feel that I was, competent enough to be able to do what he needed done. And so I just want to say thank you, Doc, for that encouragement, for that empowerment. It really was a big push for me, just because it was, I definitely lacked the confidence, but you believed in me, and I really appreciated that a lot. So much so that, some almost 20 years later, it's stuck with me. So thank you, and I hope that you're doing well. I hope you and Lola are doing great, and that you're just enjoying life. So thank you so much, and I wish you all the best.
Hi Doc, it's Mike and Michelle. We just wanted to thank you for being such a wonderful mentor to us through all the years.
Thank you for always being willing to come up with our students, conduct our band, for all of your guidance.
We love you, Doc. Thank you.
Hi there, everyone. This is Gary Gilroy, and I'm just making a video to say thanks and hello and everything to Dr. Sutherland, and thank you for all the great mentorship that you've given me over the years. I was lucky enough to work with Larry for 13 years as the marching band director before he retired, and I think that was 18 years ago that he retired already. Holy moly. Anyway, Doc, thanks, and thanks Rob for putting this whole tribute together. I think it's awesome, and glad to be a part of it. Thank you, Doc. Bye-bye.
Hey Doc, just want to let you know that some things that really impressed me about when you were at Fresno State and I was there as well was your pursuit of perfection in the music that your groups performed. They were unmatched as far as any that I'd ever heard before. I also loved your conducting style, and I try to imitate it when I'm conducting, because it had great style and poise, and also the musicality that you helped your groups achieve. And wanted to let you know that you were an amazing teacher and performer and mentor to all of us, and you affected us all in a way that made us become better teachers. So thank you so much for everything you did, and love you much. And I'm sure if Bill wasn't at a gig right now, he would be saying the same thing. All right, go Raiders. That's for Lola.
Hello, Dr. Larry Sutherland. This is Dale Engstrom. Just wanted to make a quick thank you video for you, because you've done so much in my musical life. It goes all the way back before Fresno State at La Sierra with Mom and Dad, and some great times to get to know you there. And then I remember coming back for my master's after I'd graduated, waited many years, and then when I came back from my master's, I got to be in your rehearsals, and at an older age, really realizing all the great nuggets of wisdom you had, and I learned so much, took so many notes, and it helped me in all my teaching career. And the thing I always go back to, and I know I've told you this before, great memory is I was doing city band, and you happened to just be in the audience, and my dad got really sick, had to go to the hospital like 20 minutes before the concert. So I walked over and said, hey, here's the music, can you do this? And there's nobody else I could think of I'd like to give the music to, and you did it, and of course you did a great job. So that was very much appreciated. I always remember that. And today I'm recording this on National Wine Day, and so since it is National Wine Day, it's one of these little quotes you told me just off the cuff, and I've always remembered it. But you said, life is too short to have bad wine. So I think I'm going to open this really nice bottle of Wilson Reserve Zen today. So anyway, congratulations for all you've done, and you're appreciated.